Hi, Scott, Noise Castle, get to the point. Boop. Hey, I work with a songwriter who, I'm not going to mention a name. They have an issue that they call chronic earworm, where they literally have a melody going through their head at all times. And I realized that I actually have it too, except it's like Scatman John on a rip over some hard bop. That's what's going on in my brain at all times. So like last week when I was doing that thing with the C major prelude, I just had Bach. I had like that texture of like that fucking texture going through my head at all times. Just all like constantly. This week I'm gonna do some stuff just totally disregarding notes because I'm going to lose my mind. So yeah, I thought I'd throw together some random words. Timbral, partial, polymeter, algorithmic, timbral, polymeter, partials, harmonics, yeah. Problem with trying to make tools for automatic timbre generation is the density of the information. Okay, here's the idea. Timbral algorithm. Timbral algorithms. Yeah. We're going to start with two probability banks, one of which will be sent to a set of parameters on a synthesizer in order to make the timbre darker, and one will be set to some other parameters on the synthesizer to make the timbre brighter. And then it'll test the same timbre that it's influencing, creating a feedback loop. And then if the timbre is getting brighter, it will tell it to get darker. So it will increment via changing each one of those controls probabilistically. Theoretically, you should kind of get something that's changing all the time, but staying at the same level of brightness or darkness. And by brightness or darkness, I mean in terms of spectrum or frequency. Brighter means more high frequency information, and darker means less high frequency information. So there's a big potential value in using that as an automatic mixer. Since it's modular, you could actually have anything be controlled by anything and anything be tested. So that means that we could do something with the middle and the sides, make it stay within a range of narrowness. I still don't quite know if it's gonna be an interesting patch at all. Okay, well, I made it. It's kind of less than overwhelming to me. Hear what this sounds like without these timbre animators. Pretty harsh, right? Now here it is with the feedback circuit that's kind of keeping the timbre from getting too bright. So you can hear it dulled it down. What happens is it goes in this tester unit, and this is just a high pass filter, and it goes to this envelope follower. That's to kind of smooth out the signal so it's able to be tested, and then it goes through the comparator. This is where it chooses randomly which one it's going to increment or decrement. So these are the incrementers, and there's one that goes up. That's kind of where it stays, and then and then the one that goes down is only when this filter triggers this comparator. So you see this corresponds to that 2 hitting. And that actually happens with all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these, and they're going to different places. There's a slew limiter or glide or a portamento, whatever you want to call it, that's kind of slowing down the rate of change, and then it goes out to these CC converters. And then if you turn this up, you see it'll kind of let it get brighter. You can see it working here. Like that's the coarse pitch of this FM synthesizer. Now I just chose these bass, there's one for the frequency of this, there's one for the drive of the saturator, and one for the bass. The reason I chose these parameters is because they all kind of correspond to brighter and darker. If I change the patch, the mappings remain. That's kind of a cool function of how Ableton works. It does drastically different things with different patches. That patch works pretty well for like humanization functions. I'm a little underwhelmed by it, so I'm gonna just try to think of some other things to make it a little more interesting. Well, I tweaked it, and now it kind of sounds like something from a Dario Argento movie. I just doubled the number of the program instances that were open, so I could have twice as many CC channels. Those are the two instances of the program side by side. Now when I move these, you'll hear a difference. Here's the patch that it's affecting. It's kind of fun just to open different patches for that operator and see what they sound like. And then just slowly open the tolerance for what gets through into the mechanism. And then it just kind of morphs the patch because it's trying to both keep it bright, but also not let it get bright. If that makes sense. It'll also, the interesting thing is it reacts to higher patches with higher frequency information differently. Because it's basically testing it to say, like, are you too bright or are you not bright enough, and then adjusting it. I think maybe I'm gonna call this an algorithmic patch mixer. Chaotic patch animator. There you go. Look at that. It's just a little... Merry Christmas. Oh God. The ghost pepper. Ooh, the old torso doesn't like that one. Ooh. Okay, so this has been... Oh God, what is the name of it? My algorithmic patch animator. I'm Scott from the Noise Castle. Like and subscribe. Comment below. Oh yeah, and if you want to hear higher resolution version of that patch, scroll over the title credits.